Blast them!
Hey guys, this is Dave from Republic Trooper, and today we're going to talk about preferences in Star Wars The Old Republic. When you first make a character for Star Wars The Old Republic and log in, one of the first things you're probably going to want to do is edit some of your preferences so that they best suit your style of play. Now, to get into the preferences menu, you have a few choices. You can hit the Control P combination on the keyboard, which will open you directly into the preferences menu. You can hit Escape until you see the Options menu and go to Preferences there. Or you can click on the Game menu, which is the same as Escape, which also opens the Options and gets you back into Preferences. Now, we're going to start off on the Graphics tab. Now, almost everything has been set to default for this demonstration, so what you see is pretty much what you'll see when you start in the Old Republic. Now, the default resolution is the first thing I'm going to change. It starts out at 1024 by 768. I'm going to go up to 1920 by 1200. Hit apply. Wait a few seconds. Okay. Now, we'll glance over some of the other general settings for graphics. You have windowed mode, vertical sync, full screen exclusive mode. The graphics quality preset is currently grayed out in beta at high. Hopefully it will be enabled by the time the game reaches launch. Coming down here, the advanced, you see bloom, which is the general glow you see in a lot of games. Conversation of depth of field, blob shadows. Now, if your machine can handle it, and mine can, you'll get a better visual experience by turning as many things up. Shadow quality. Now, if you do have a hard time, shadows are notoriously rough on systems, so I recommend turning shadow quality down if your machine's chugging at any point. Remember, always hit apply after you make changes. If you don't, and you switch out, then your machine's going to end up not saving the changes, and you're going to have to go back. Now in Preferences, we'll go to Control. In here are some of the most useful preferences in the game. Auto loot on right click, an absolute must for a lot of people, I'm included. Enable area loot. When you do loot, you will automatically loot all corpses that are yours in a relatively large area. Very, very useful. Auto target closest enemy. Once again, this is a must in my opinion. When a target dies, you auto target the next active enemy in the area. Enable focus target. For those familiar with focus targets, this allows you to have a specific target set with keybinds that you can jump to instantly. Once you enable it, you can go to the key bindings and set specific hotkeys for the focus target. Deselect target upon clicking on terrain, very popular with some people. I'm personally not a fan. Ignore NPC during tab targeting. I generally go with that. Now, here is something that's very core to the Old Republic. When you're out in the world with your companions, you can have them gather using whatever gathering crew crafting skills you have. This is a drop down that lets you enable whether you want it to be done on right click or shift plus right click, or if you want to disable it entirely. I generally go with shift plus right click, which used to be the default. Now here, general camera settings, max distance. I usually turn this up to full because I want to be able to scroll out as far as possible to see what's around me, especially during PvP or when I'm tanking. Camera rotation speed. The camera rotates pretty fast, even very low. Turning this up and things spins like a top, so I generally leave it pretty low. Okay, here you have mouse settings, inverting the mouse horizontal and vertical, mouse sensitivity. Once again, this is all dependent upon your personal preference. Okay, down here we have the ability action queue window. This is one of the most useful settings in the game. What this does is this lets you set a time anywhere from 0 to 1 second in which you can queue the next action, meaning that while you're using an action and your global cooldown is ticking, you can hit your next ability up to a second beforehand. Okay, those are my settings for controls. Hit apply. Now fly text. Fly text is known in other games like World of Warcraft as scrolling combat text. It's all on by default. It's mostly feedback. It will come around your character and it will tell you things such as damage, combat effects, experience gains, etc. It's all on by default. I generally leave it on for now. Sound is generally higher. I turned it down for the tutorial. The sound is pretty straightforward. A few basic options. Chat has some interesting options. You can attach timestamps to your chats. You can have your chat panel fade. You can filter profanity. Personally, I'm going to turn this off. I want to see if anybody's calling me bad names. PvP chat turns on or turns off the PvP chat channel. General chat, same thing. Trade chat, same thing once again. Chat awareness ping. This will play a tone as it says whenever you get a message in any of the following channels. Tell, guild, and ops. It'll only do it once every 30 seconds. Group awareness ping is when a friend, group, or guild member logs into the game. Chat panel alpha, how much you want it to fade. Simple setting. User interface. This is the show phase indicator. It basically shows you which phase you're in the game if you're in an area where there's multiple phases. Track missions by area. I actually like this option a lot. It saves a lot of clutter, and you can always turn it off if you want to see all of your missions pop up. Generally though, I think this is one of the most useful options in the preferences. Auto skip movies. These are for the character creation introduction movies. You can escape past them anyways, but if they really annoy you, you could always turn them off. Display item modification warning, very useful. I leave this on. Enable tutorials. May be useful for you at the beginning. After you've seen them once or twice, generally off they go for me. Lock quick slots is the same as other games. If you want what's on your bars to stay there until you decide to make a change, and you don't want them accidentally being pulled off, you can enable this. Okay, you can enable 3 extra bars. This is pretty straightforward. 1 bar on each side of the screen, an additional bar on the bottom. We'll put all the bars on, we'll hit apply. There you go. Now, this is a very interesting and useful setting. You can decide where you want your companion's extended quick slot bar to appear. I generally pick one of the sides. I like the left quick slots. Now, this is the truncated version that you see normally, but if you ever want to open all of the abilities so that you can get greater granular control over them, you hit plus, and they will appear. Oh, well, they appeared on the bottom. probably because I didn't apply. Now let's see. See, and that's what I was talking about. You can make changes here, but if you don't hit apply, nothing happens. So now, my companion's bar is over to the left. I can make it so that he autocasts or doesn't autocast certain abilities. I can turn his stances on and off. Okay. And if you want to truncate it again, then just hit the minus sign and it's back on the bottom. And whatever you have on here will stay on here underneath that. So you don't have to leave it open. You can overwrite it as needed. Okay. Now we move on to map. Exterior map defaults to world map. Some people like this option. I go back and forth. I turn it on sometimes and I turn it off depending on which world I'm on. Show map notes for untracked missions can be very useful. Once again, it depends on your taste. Enable magnifying glass in the world. I don't like the feature. I'll use it manually if I need the magnifying glass on the map. Having it on all the time, I think is distracting. Reverse Y and Z coordinates on coordinate displays. Once again, if you have a specific reason for it, I do not, so I do not use it. Group mission map notes. You can group your map notes for all missions, bonus missions only, or no group missions. This is for when you're in a group and it will display information for your group members' missions. And this will let you control how much. Okay. Map fade value. Once again, once you start moving, the map fades. This will let you control how much. This controls how many icons can gutter in the minimap. Showing the closest first. Even set low, they can stack up pretty quick, so I generally leave it pretty low. Detailed item tooltips. This, to me, is a must. I turn it on. Enable companion comparative tooltips. Once again, also a must. I turn it on. Comparative tooltips and stat summarization in item tooltips are already there. These basically, if you turn all these on, it basically gives you as much detailed and straightforward information. I don't know truthfully why anyone would have any of these off. But once again, to each their own. Show conversation alignment gain on mouse over. This will basically show you if you mouse over the choices at the bottom when you're in a cutscene, it'll show you whether you're going to get light side or dark side. So if you want to be one of those people who just want to make your choices based completely on story and you want to be surprised, you can turn this off. Display subtitles for conversations. Once again, sometimes people want to or need to be able to read and they can't listen to everything, so you can turn this on. Show invites as social messages. Now, operation frames. I like the operation frames. I use them as party frames. I turn on the show health text. And if you click this, you can actually unlock the frames for movement. You can also adjust how wide and high each frame is. So, alright, moving on to social. There's some very useful and fun options here as well. You have hide head slot. Depending on your helmet, this can be very useful. Some helmets are great looking, some of them are horrible. You can automatically ignore trade invites, pretty straightforward. Okay, allowing access to same class story areas. This is actually really big. if you turn this on, you can play with friends and guildmates that are the same class, and you can enter their areas. You still will not get credit for story areas of the same class, but you can go in together. Show Sith corruption. You know, I guess if you want to turn this off, it's kind of like using makeup. You know, no one will know you're evil. Automatically ignore group invites. Automatically ignore guild invites. Self-explanatory. Hide adding friends from mission rewards. Now, what this is in regards to is when you're grouped and you finish a mission, at the bottom you'll see whoever's in your group come up as options to add to your friends list. So basically, it's a shortcut to putting people on your friends list when you're playing with them. Ignore guild import offer. This, I guess, is when the pre-launch guild system goes live. I'm guessing this will allow you to ignore the joining when you log in. Display phase help tips. This basically tells you when you're going into a phase. Hey, you're going into a phase. You know, you're eligible for this and not eligible for that. Once you know what's going on, turning that off is fine. Now, the new legacy system. So far, it's very straightforward. All they have is it allows you to choose where you display your legacy on your nameplate. You can hide it. You can have your surname, or you can have your full legacy title. So, and finally, nameplates. These are pretty simple. Nameplates are the names that float over characters' heads. By default, you don't have your own on. If you want to see your name floating over your head as you run around, you can turn that on. Companion and friendly players is on by default. Nameplates on friendly NPCs. This can actually be really useful because usually they have their titles along with them. Friendly companions, enemy players' companions, I will generally turn on, as well as enemy NPCs. And you scale nameplates with distance. So there you have it, folks. We've gone over the basics of preferences in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and we hope that you'll be better prepared to jump in, make choices on what you want to set your preferences to, and dive right into the game.
Blast them!